Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, is the vaccine essential for in-person instruction? But first, COVID confusion, as they say. Let's get to it.
Welcome to the fast-paced and unrehearsed weekly discussion featuring the leaders who help shape your world. Join us as we address the issues that impact you each and every day. This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Well, joining me is Brian Roche. He's the anchor consumer investigator for WGAL. News 8, I got to get that introduction right because that's what they say in the station. Television, WGAL, and Brian is an amazing consumer investigator, and I'm delighted to have him on the program. Well, let's start with what I talked about, COVID confusion. How can it be confusing? You go and you get the shot.
Well, we're not so much talking about the shot here, Terry. We're talking about the scammers taking advantage of all the COVID confusion. For the last year, we've all been going through this one way or another. You had me on the show a few months ago. We talked about this, and the problem has only gotten worse. Hackers and scammers are taking advantage of this situation to try to rip people off. Where can I get my vaccination? Did I buy this product online? Where do I need to go to stay safe and stay healthy? So they're bombarding people with things online and on the telephone and trying to take advantage of the confusion. One scam that literally just seconds before I got on here with you, I read an email from somebody who got an email claiming to be from Amazon, telling them that he had just ordered a $4,000 television and to contact them to straighten it out if it's not his problem, if he didn't actually order it. Well, he said in the email that he started to respond to them to stop the whole thing. But that's exactly what the scammer wants. They want you to bite. They want you to call them back. And they say they'll clear up the problem if you give them your credit card information, want to make sure that the charge doesn't go on your credit card. And that's just one example of the confusion that is going on right now because so many of us are home, ordering things online. Well, online ordering is like doubled in the last year.
Absolutely.
So we're not keeping track of these packages that we're ordering. So you get these text messages and people are thinking, did I really order that? Yeah, maybe I should respond to this. And the next thing you know, you've lost your credit card. Yeah. Fortunately for that person who contacted me, he realized it was a scam. And that's just one example of COVID confusion.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. In my neighborhood, you can't drive by and not see one package after another, sitting out on the porches. You're exactly right. And the other thing is, I don't know, I mean, you're the expert on this, your Social Security number. I mean, sometimes they want that for whatever reason, no?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Especially the older the victim is, the more protective they are and more concerned they are about their Social Security number. And these scammers try to take advantage of that. They'll say, well, in addition to your credit card number there, we just want to make sure that we have the right person. So can you give me your Social Security number? And it really is disheartening to me how often people will do that. It really scares me and concerns me. And I try to tell people all the time, there is no reason whatsoever that a retailer should need your Social Security number. And then sadly, I get the phone call from people saying, I did this, what do I do? Yeah. Well, now you're a victim of identity theft.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I get a picture from somebody I know well, and then it says, oh, by the way, did you hear about this grant you can get? And you can get $10,000 for a grant. And then if you respond by saying, sure, then that's when they get into wanting your credit card information. You see, that's another, that one they've tried that on me several times. No, you're not getting, I just say, no, I don't need the $10,000 grant.
Right. So if say your Facebook account is hacked, someone takes it over, they pose as you.
Yes.
And this did transpire between us, the two of us, a few weeks ago, where someone sent me a message saying, Brian, is this you in this video? And I know Terry Madonna for a long, long time. I know that's not him contacting me. To your credit, Terry, you realize real quick that was a scam. But that's just another example of someone taking over an account and posing as a friend to try to draw you in.
Yeah. I mean, and they're ingenious in terms of the way they can figure out how to get your money. I mean, we're going to run to a break, but first, here's one that I have no clue what it's about, and you call it brushing scams. Scams. All right, we'll get to that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
All right, my guest right now is Brian Roche. He's the anchor consumer investigator for WGAL News 8. All right, boy, I'll tell you, when brushing scams, I have no clue what that's about, and I'm going to be very honest with you. So take it. What does that mean?
All right, so a brushing scam is, in its literal translation, is a gift or a package brushes by you. It's not so much a scam on the person receiving the package. It is an advantage for the retailer sending you this. So as you and I were talking a few minutes ago, there's a lot of online buying going on right now. And before most of us buy anything, what do? We read the reviews. So there's a number of companies, most of them on the other side of the world, who have taken to buying stolen information about consumers like you or me, and they send us these packages. And then they post these reviews online saying, Brian Roche, I bought this Acme widget, and it's fantastic, and it's wonderful, and I would buy it again 5 times over. I give it a 5-star rating, and that's the scam, is that the retailer is getting the good reviews. So other people are going to read this and say, oh, well, this guy loved this product, so he's going to keep buying it. So that's the scam. In the end here, the person receiving the package really don't get scammed. They don't lose any money, but their name is used. This happened to a coworker of mine. And if you do start receiving these packages, here's the good news. Under federal law, you're allowed to keep that merchandise.
Oh, I've heard from people who are
they get jewelry, they get rings, they've got some fairly expensive stuff. Most of the products, though, are under $50. But it seems that these questionable retailers on the other side of the world selling things online are willing to take that as a loss just to get the good review. So again, the product brushes by you, and that's the name of the scam.
All right. The third one that I want you to chat about, you refer to as unemployment fraud. We've heard a lot about unemployment in the $1.9 trillion. I call it the Biden proposal because it came out of his administration. There's a lot of conversations about unemployment and money that you would get in the out of the $1.9 trillion. So what's the fraud here?
Well, I'm not going to get into the political side of it. I let the politicians handle that. But what's happening here most often in terms of consumers, their information is being stolen. Their personal information, including their social security number, has been stolen somewhere along the line. Maybe in a data breach years ago, maybe in a hack somewhere, but that information is being used, that personal information, including your social security number, is being used to apply for unemployment benefits. But the hacker or the scammer then has that information, has the check, has the letter sent to another address, and they try to rake in the money from the unemployment. And it is happening. It has been happening since the pandemic started last March. And it has cost the country billions and billions of dollars. What it's costing consumers, though, is their personal information. It's out there. Someone has their social security number. And if you find out that this is happening to you, you need to take steps to protect yourself from identity theft, including possibly putting a freeze on your credit report. The state and the federal government, specifically the state, they've gotten much better at catching this fraud and notifying people, sending them letters saying, this might be you, we're not sure, contact us back because someone's applied for benefits in your name.
Yeah.
And I've heard from people here in Pennsylvania who have received letters from, off the top of my head, I remember Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, and Nebraska, that in those states, someone's applied for benefits in their name. So unemployment fraud continues. It's rampant. It's costing the country billions of dollars. But more importantly, and as far as I'm concerned, it's costing consumers their personal information.
Yeah, that's a great update. You're also getting on the telephone, both on your hard line, if you had one. I'm getting 5 or 6 a day. Of course, if I don't recognize the number, I don't pick it up, and you're even getting them on these right here.
You know what? I'm glad you brought this up, Terry, because I just got new, fresh statistics yesterday from the Federal Trade Commission about how they're contacting people. And people are afraid of the computer. They're afraid that that's where they're going to get scammed. But the vast majority, about 35% of the time, they're contacting you on a landline. And then the second one on the list is it's about, I think it was 28% of the time, they're contacting you on that device that you just held up there, your cell phone. Text messaging scams have skyrocketed in the last year.
Absolutely.
And a couple other quick stats I want to throw in here. For those of you who may doubt what I'm saying about the scams going up last year, they literally doubled last year. The latest statistics just out March 1st from the Federal Trade Commission, fraud reports doubled during the year 2020, and losses went up by about a third. Monetary losses went up. So the scams are prevalent.
All right. Look, I want to thank you for coming on. I'll hold you to updates coming up in the future, as always. Thanks a lot, Brian.
You got it.
All right. What about this? Vaccines and in-person instruction. We'll get to that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Cross-State Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, go to ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
All right, we're going to talk about Educator vaccine program, and joining me to do that is Rich Askey. He's the president of the Pennsylvania State Education Association. They represent the teachers in the state, support personnel, and coaches. Do I got that right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, good. I'll tell you, it's amazing that suddenly Governor Wolf, and you're smiling about it, and I can certainly understand, and I'm smiling about it, says Johnson & Johnson vaccines now available, whatever it is, 95,000 doses, go to the teachers. First of all, why is that essential?
Well, because if you want in-person instruction to ramp up more, if we want more children in the classroom, it's essential that school employees are prioritized for the vaccine. It just makes common sense. We've been advocating since the very beginning for safe measures in the schools to protect everyone, and this is just an added layer to that.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, schools can't always, without huge renovations, be made safe in many ways. And I don't know how you would be in elementary school or preschool and keep kids at a distance. It's virtually impossible.
Well, I taught elementary. I taught elementary music, and I just don't know how you do that consistently, because children are children, and especially in some subjects like music and art, there's a lot of interaction going on. And then these schools also, you made a good point, though, is the ventilation of these schools is not what it should be in many places.
Well, sure, they didn't know they were going to have a pandemic on their hands, right?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, I certainly understand. And the other thing that's difficult is to do a couple days in person and a couple days. I mean, you get elementary school children in particular, and even you get up into high schools. I mean, switching back and forth, it's the learning has to be. It's just so difficult.
It's not what it should be. I think we all know that the best learning happens in the classroom with the teacher. But I think the other point that needs to be made, that while we're talking about this stop and go learning, is that the advantage to this is now teachers are not going to have to quarantine or isolate when they become exposed to COVID-19. So that those notes home saying, okay, well, school's out for the next week because of an infection, that'll now stop.
And if one kid gets it, let's say, you literally have to close the school down and go through a complete sanitize the entire school building.
It just depends. There's some guidelines where if it's just one child in one classroom, sometimes just a little area of the school, and those who are close to the child have to quarantine.
All right, well, let's go to a big question, and that is, how is the program going to function? How's it going to work?
I need to start off by saying that the administration and the policymakers have done a great job ramping this up in just a few days. What's going to be happening is, as of yesterday, right after the announcement was made, the educators throughout all of Pennsylvania received an email that said, do you want the vaccine or do you not want the vaccine? And they have till Friday to respond to that. And then working with the intermediate units across the state, the intermediate units are going to help schedule those shots over the next few weeks. And the other great part is the National Guard is coming in, and they're going to help facilitate those vaccine sites. So nothing goes without a few bumps in the road, but I think this is a pretty good plan that we're looking at.
Yeah, I think the administration says they want this to be completed by the first week in April.
That's what the goal is, and I think there's a good chance that that's going to happen. It just depends. The first shots, we get 94,000 shots, and we need upwards to almost 200,000 to get to everybody. So it depends what we get in the following weeks. I think that's going to be a factor moving forward.
Yeah. And you've been advocating this for some time.
We've been advocating for health and safety in the schools for quite a long time. Now, I would say we really pushed up the advocacy on the vaccine, I would say, in the last 6-7 weeks. And we worked with other education associations across the state who agreed with us that this is just a need in our schools.
Well, let's run to a break. There are 3 or 4 other topics that I want to get to: standardized testing and some other aspects of this that's critically important, I think, for instruction for the school kids. We'll be back after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine.
All right, welcome back. Well, I'm talking with Rich Askey. He's the president of PSEA, and we're dealing with vaccines and what it means to the schools to get the vaccination program. And before we go on to the next subject, it's also, you have staffing shortages in the schools for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's just dreaded fear, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's conditions that may or may not be related to COVID-19. So the shortages are a substantial problem.
Well, we were beginning to suffer from a teacher shortage crisis before this pandemic ever occurred.
Yeah.
And then once the pandemic started, it was difficult to find substitutes because you're right, there were people that just said, I'm not going into that building. So there were a lot of substitutes. And that's what's good about this vaccine, is it's going to ease those concerns a bit because, as I said earlier, a teacher won't have to quarantine. We won't need as many substitutes, and we won't need to stop the learning, and we can bring more students into the classroom. So the more students that are in the classroom, the more parents that can go to work and not worry is nothing but good for Pennsylvania's economy.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not so much that people oppose it, but law enforcement officials think they should have had a high priority also because of the large number of them that have come down, have gotten the virus. And you can't blame them for saying, we also, can you? I mean,
we completely understand that there's people out there that deserve to get this vaccine as well. We still have people in 1A who should be getting that vaccine. What we're hoping is, with the Pfizer and Moderna also coming in with more, and this Johnson & Johnson, this will get that lane, more people who are in the 1A, the availability of the vaccine. But yes, we completely understand. We have family that is in 1A.
Oh, sure. I want to talk about standardized testing. I've never been a fan of it as a lifelong educator, believe me, maybe because I didn't do so well taking standardized tests. But you argued, and other educators are arguing, that they shouldn't be given this year, given you know, given what's going on with, you know, in person, the hybrid method, if you will, in terms of education, which is, you know, leaves some students just, you know, in difficulty, right?
It just doesn't make sense, period. Because here we are, we're very excited because it looks like we're going to be able to start bringing more students in, we're going to get more learning going, and then you're going to put the brakes on that by requiring students to take a test that they haven't received the curriculum for. It's completely unexplainable to us. But I have to say, we appreciate the fact that Pennsylvania has already extended the testing window so that it can wait until September. But still, the other part is the emotional part of it. I proctored tests throughout my entire career, and I saw kids having meltdowns when they had to take that test. Imagine what it's going to be after this, and then they go into school and take a test on a curriculum that they haven't received.
Yeah, I don't know how it can be done properly. Now, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has at least pushed this back to September.
Yeah, they've increased the testing window until September, so it's up to a school district. I've heard some saying we just want to get it over with and be done with it, and I've heard some want to take advantage of that September. So it will be probably just a local decision.
Yeah. Okay. So before I let you go, you know, look into April. What's your estimation about what schools will look like in April?
I think there's going to be about mid-April, we're going to see more and more students in the classroom. We're going to see more instruction going on, and we're just going to be moving forward, which is such a great relief to everybody.
Yeah. Well, it has to be, and we're not talking. I mean, we have 500 school districts. I mean, people don't realize, and I shouldn't say this. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're talking about a huge enterprise, and you know when I use that word, that involves thousands and thousands of students, right?
Well, we have 178,000 members, so imagine how many students there are in Pennsylvania. This affects almost every Pennsylvanian. And that's the good news about this, that I think all of Pennsylvania with this wise decision can breathe, and there's that light at the end of the tunnel now. Yeah.
Have you heard any, well, we got 30 seconds left, any criticism from lawmakers about it? I would think they would.
I have heard nothing as of this point. Now, we're only a short time in, of course, but I think that everybody understands this is just a need.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.